Yes, okay, I'll call the meeting to order at 8:38. Good morning, everybody. We'll do a roll call.
I'll do roll call because I'm physically present to
Thank you.
acknowledge it. Ralph Holmes.
Here.
O.J. Sutherland.
Here.
Tom Halverson.
Here.
Jim Lewis.
Here.
Pat Martell. Not
knows?
here quite
Who will be
yet,
there?
guys. And Steve Siegel.
Here. Okay, well, you please rise and join me in the, or flag. Kind of hiding in the corner. You gotta put it somewhere, or is that where it goes? There it is. Thank you. Okay.
Pull it out.
There we go. That's better. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda as we see it?
Staff does not have any.
None? Okay.
Liz, we noted that board member Martell is present.
Sorry, guys.
All right. I got caught up in the valley fiasco over there. I don't know if you.
I did.
Yeah, I did. I figured. They didn't tell us when the valet was.
I
They
know,
switched
and
it
I
on
was
us.
waiting.
For 10 minutes, right? I know. I'm sorry. I should have texted you. Okay, then the agenda is approved as published. This is now the time and place for members of the public to comment on any item not on the agenda.
I'll hold it back if we didn't vote on the agenda.
I just thought I'd be imperial. I didn't get away with it.
You said voted, so
I guess my imperial process didn't work. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
motion.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second by OJ. Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. Getting participation here. Did you like that? I thought you'd appreciate it. See, I knew you'd appreciate that. That's pretty good. I'm punchy this morning. I got a good night of rest.
He's choking over here and just.
I got a good night of
I
rest.
said something, no, I.
All right, okay. The agenda is approved as published. Okay, this is the time and place for members of the public to comment for real on any item not on the agenda at any one of our locations. Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on an item not on the agenda here or at any of our sites?
Anybody online, Liz?
Anybody online?
I don't see any online, and there were no emails or text messages submitted to the governing board email or the number we provided on the meeting. So I think
Okay.
we don't have any.
Okie doke, thank you. Then we'll move on to reports to the board, starting with North Bay update, the North Bay team. Abigail, oh, yeah, all right, there he is.
Liz, did you get the presentation?
Yeah.
I did. Sorry, I'm just trying to get it up on the correct screen. I have two screens going right now.
There we go.
I can do this.
Travis is all yours. Good dude up here. Let's do it.
All right.
Can you
well,
all see that okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's perfect.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
We've been off to a running start here at Pivot North Bay. We have a lot of exciting changes that have come for Block 1 in the 2024-2025 school year that I'm really happy to share with you. All right, so during Welcome Week, we had a super high student attendance rate. We had about 154 students on site
Wow.
here between high school, middle school, and elementary.
So
So in the
exciting in the parking lot. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. That was an issue we had to figure out there with the pickup situation. But in the 4 years that I've been working here, that is the highest amount of students that we've had physically here on site. So it was a challenge, but hey, we were happy to see that kids were so eager to attend the site program here. A few changes that we had to make to that in order to accommodate the students that were physically trying to come to the site. We had to move to a lottery program on our high school side just to accommodate the sheer amount of students that were trying to get in through the door. And those core group of students that we were able to pick out have been super engaged. They're super invested in coming in here, getting the help that they need. We've been focusing on a lot of peer connection and relationship building during the first block here. And it's been going great. Like I said, the core group of kids that we have coming consistently to the site, they love being here. They're making friends and they're learning new skills every single day. We've also jumped right into our community service. So here's a photo of a community service opportunity that our high school students attended last week at Doran Beach. They got an opportunity to clean up their local environment and just have fun in the sun.
There's a lot of kids that were there.
Yeah, it was a good group. Our elementary program is actually growing as well. On any given day, we could have about 5 to 10 students coming in. Our instructor, Ms. Sarah Torma, is doing a great job at structuring this program, giving kids opportunities to do art projects and connect with their peers, as well as taking part in social and emotional learning. Our middle school program is doing just the same here. For Block 1, they're focusing on art, music, and dance. We have 3 different ECs right now who are heading the middle school program. We have Ariana Vincent, we have Isabel Beckner, and then Jessica Holt is a new EC to join us this year, who is a professional dancer who came in to share her love of dancing with students. This is them on a bowling field trip they just recently went on last week.
Didn't even know that. Cool.
All right, and our high school program has jumped right into their on-site courses and clubs. Here is the crochet club that's led by Miss Megan Coffey. This is a club geared towards community service. So our students are knitting these 8x8 squares, which are then going to be sent into a program called Chemo Crochet, where they're going to take those squares, combine them down, and then donate blankets to cancer patients.
Wow.
That's great.
Very popular classes. Every time you walk by, it's just so zen. All these kids are just so goddamn, so quiet.
That's such an like, old school thing to do. It's interesting the kids.
Exactly.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
really neat.
Yeah, more and more. Ms. Courtney Bird is running a science lab club. This is a really awesome club that's gained a lot of interest from our students. This gives them a chance to actually put into practice what they're learning in some of their classes physically on site here. So they have an opportunity to take the labs that are ingrained within their curriculum and put them to life. So they actually get their hands physically on these experiments. They've been focusing mainly on the water cycle and fossil formation. As you can see, Charles very proudly holding up a tooth there. It's a really close-knit group of kids here, though. They've been working with microscopes and examining specimens that they've been able to collect either at their home environment or here around the school, and then making observations with those. But again, it's really cool to have the kids connect with the labs that are, hey, maybe inside the curriculum that they don't physically get to do, but they get to do it here on site. Our next club here is run by another new EC, Miss Demi Perez. For the last 2 years, we've had students begging for a Dungeons and Dragons club, but we just haven't had an EC who's been able to run it. But Demi has had years of experience in her personal life and running it at a previous school. So for this 8-week block, students have been focusing on character design, creating backstories. So there's a lot of math and writing components ingrained with this club here. It's been super popular. The kids have really been into it.
That's awesome.
It's amazing that's still going. I did that when I was.
All right.
I loved it.
What is Dungeons and Dragons?
It's kind of like a very
Come on, board game.
I'm asking that for people who don't know.
Oh, I see.
I'm helping them.
It's a role play. You're a wizard, you're a
Yeah.
fider.
Travis knows what he's talking about. Shut up. Right.
So it's a very in-depth.
I'm asking the appropriate person here.
Yeah.
What is Dungeons and Dragons?
So it's a very in-depth board game. It's very customizable. Students have a lot of freedom when it comes to designing their characters and the environment that they navigate around. So they get really invested into this.
Thank you, Travis.
Yeah.
I never had one about that.
Your ego is getting involved.
And you use your imagination,
Yeah.
and there's a person that's
Travis,
in charge
why
of
do
making
you put up with this kind of crap?
Because I'm trying to teach you what the students are actually
No,
doing.
I'm talking to Travis.
But if you don't care about the students, we'll let Travis continue. All right.
So our next course here is actually one that I've taught for the past 2 years. It's our Intro to Art class. This allows students to actually get a hands-on approach to some of the artistic stuff that they might previously be interested in. We take all levels here, very beginning to intermediate. My whole thing is I want to take where you're at and I want to make sure that you can see some progress throughout that 8-week block. So we've been focusing a lot on charcoal and graphite and the basic elements and principles of art. We've done a lot of still lifes, and then we moved on to portraits in the latter portion of the class. So this class was actually worth 5 visual and performing arts credits as well.
Not often did his class teach this 2 years ago. 2 years ago.
2 years
2 years ago. 35 kids. He had to move it from the high school side to over here. 35 kids, and you could hear a pin drop.
Mm.
They were just like,
Well, look at that one drawing right there.
I know.
That's amazing.
I mean, it was amazing.
Cool.
PE Club is ran by Mr. Andrew Campbell. We fortunately for us here have a park that's right down the street that accommodates a lot of different games that we can do. So students have been partaking in basketball, soccer, volleyball, and football. And then those students, when they come back to site, they're actually able to take that physical activity that they did at the park and then generate that into their PE logs, which again counts towards credit.
Great.
And we also have a new club run by Miss Nicole Benjamin, an art history class. So this was a course that actually existed within our curriculum. Miss Nicole picked this out, totally revamped it and customized it to fit an on-site format platform. It's going to be centered around some really cool field trips that we're excited about. So just next week, they're actually going to be taking a field trip to the Legion of Honor in SF, and they're going to be able to examine some of these works of art that they've been looking at within this class. And then the big culminating event, which is still in the works right now, is a trip to New York City to go and visit some museums out there. Very excited about that.
Our first, well, we have the Prop 28 monies that we can help to supplement this particular art history museum focused trip. Liz has been working very diligently with staff. Corinne's been involved, our nurse has been involved, the two teachers that are organizing it, Travis has been involved, I've been involved. We're actually going through EF, which is a student travel company. So a lot of logistics are taken care of, but this is a first, and we're doing it. The kids will be doing fundraising. They'll have their own fundraising webpage.
And they should have a little skin in the game.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
You should ask board members to buy things.
Yeah, good, thank you, Jim. Nice lead
Do
in.
what?
They should ask board members to buy things.
So,
I might go to this.
How
When
many
is this?
students, when is this trip?
It should be scheduled for May.
We don't know when.
and,
This May?
You
yeah,
let us know.
It's, I think it's the end of May that they have to wait for flights and to pin it
What's the
down.
cost
Too far
of
out to pin
I
an
wanna
exact date.
How much?
2,800 per student, somewhere in there?
I'm
Somewhere in there.
2800 each.
It's not bad.
That's cheap.
for a week.
For a week in New York?
Yeah.
That's not
A
bad
week?
at all.
I'll go.
Plus the flight. You might have some board members going.
We'll help serve the.
There's
on
13,
the
somebody
flight.
just asked how many students. There's 13 students eligible because they're in the class. And so Nicole and Ariana are looking at the students to see which ones want to go. And like you said, Mr. Lewis, we want to make sure that they have a commitment to this, that they're not going to back out last minute. They have some skin in the game. They do some fundraising. They put in some of their own money, things like that.
Yep.
And so
That's great.
Nicole and Ariana and Corinne and Abigail, everybody's been working on it and trying to support them getting this done, and doing it very strategically. And, to
Let's
make
make
sense.
sure it happens.
Oh, yeah, that
Oh,
sounds
yes.
amazing. So the
So we're
kid,
clear about that.
Yes,
she'll make it
yes,
work.
sir.
Okay.
The Halverson Foundation man to write the whole program.
Oh, he's gonna give me half his tuna that he collects from that one.
Yeah.
So the students, so you're in the club, which is easy to just show up, right?
Mhm.
And then to be eligible for this, you have to, what, have been to several club meetings, write a paper, or do
So this-
something? There should be some, that's a really cool thing.
This is a more structured class, actually.
Oh,
So this is chock full of assignments and tests. And so it's an actual curriculum.
the students are really bought in.
Yeah, and there's going to be two blocks associated with this class. So there's an A version, a B version. The A version covered, art history in general, so cave paintings of the 20th century. And then the secondary version is going to focus much more on New York and the trip.
Very nice.
Cool. And, like when Gracie did her fundraising thing for her trip, there's a whole website that people can go to donate to
Right.
individual students.
All right, and I believe this is the last one. Finally, we have our construction trades class, which is led by Mr. John Halderman. This is the second year he's done this course right now. And it teaches kids how to use various tools, power tools, hand tools, how to do, various DIY projects. They've learned how to repair a P-trap for a kitchen sink.
Wow.
And their final
When are
project.
the classes held?
Yeah,
Jason needs to be there.
I'll be right over.
yeah, it's super fun. Their final project is actually constructing like a mini end table out of 2x4s
Huh.
that they get to sand, paint, and totally finish.
Are we still partnered with the Lime Foundation on this?
This year, I don't believe.
I didn't think so.
Yeah.
So this is one of those classes where I've told you this before, I think, Janet. we should get a union involved.
Mhm.
Like, you know, one of the labor's unions.
Little
And they
electricians
probably
that
help
help
pay for it and everything. So the students have a connection to their plumbing union, electrician union, you know.
Their apprenticeship. program.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and they'll pay for the materials, they'll tell, and then our students graduate and they're on their way to a great new career.
That's a great idea. The electricians union is literally.
I know, I drove by, I saw
Yeah.
it. They would love to take our students and get them on a path and pay for all this stuff. We should.
Yeah.
They do it all the time.
It's a great idea.
Anna will help you with that.
Okay.
She's taking notes.
Awesome. Next slide, Liz. So here's a sneak peek at some of the Block 2 courses that we're going to be offering here. We've got a marine science class that's going to be going on during Block 2. This is going to be worth 5 elective science credits. We have everybody's favorite class and everybody's favorite person here on campus, Miss Anna Toso's plant and soil science
I
class.
saw it.
That's always a really popular one. That's a 2-part class. It's also worth 5 CTE credits per block there. We also have our robotics class that's making a resurgence during Block 2. We have a community service class that's going to focus on community service opportunities locally within the community and virtually as well. We have Mr. John Halderman's music performance class making its annual return. And then finally, we have a board game club that's going to focus on socialization and kind of peer connection a little bit over there too. Super. And then just to give you guys of some of the upcoming field trips that we're really excited about. This top one's a new one here. We're going to be making a visit to KZFR radio station, which is, I mean, literally just a hop over the freeway right here. The kids are going to be able to tour the radio station and then be on the air as well.
What
And
type
we
of
got
station?
connected through Mr. Travis,
Yeah.
his connections there at the radio station.
What type of format is?
Format.
What, the music or talk show or what?
They host a litany of radio stations out of there. So they have the country station K-Frog. They have a jazz station. They have like a top 100 station.
Great.
So I mean, it's every genre.
That's
of
great.
music. Yeah. We're actually going to Jack London State Park as well. We're doing our annual Snoopy's Ice Arena trip here in November, December. Like I said, the art history course is doing their Legion of Honor trip, and then we're also working on an Alcatraz trip as well. I believe that's it.
Wow.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Good job. Way to go.
How do I
Okay.
enroll in
Any
this
questions for Travis?
Questions?
Well, I know a lot of this is very complicated doing all this stuff. I mean, it is involved. When you put that much time into it, and creating these things and hope that it works, it's outside of the regular curriculum type stuff, and that's difficult. It takes time and effort. And to be that articulate about it as well is amazing. So that's really cool. Very cool.
I just want to be a student again, that's what Pat.
Yeah.
That's exactly.
Well, it seems like the students are really, picking up and joining these clubs and these classes. And that, of course, is the bottom line.
Absolutely. We're no longer having to drag it in.
It's great.
It's interesting because we continue to head, which I'm thrilled about to a point, because our DNA will always be what we are, right? The type of school we are, the students but we're moving towards traditional school things, which I like because our format for a long time didn't tend to that as much, but that doesn't mean our students shouldn't have those things, the problems and the field trips and the clubs. And so I love the faculty's getting on it and doing it. I know it's extra stuff, so thank you. That's really neat. That's
And
what
all
makes
the
high school
teachers-
special.
Yeah, all the teachers need to be commended too. Their creativity and their innovation and dedication to doing cool stuff,
Tremendous.
So.
All right, well, good job. Thank you, man. Really, really neat. Okay, we'll move on to the fun committee. Liz.
The country baby.
All right, yeah, we get the financial update. Can you all hear me okay through the?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Most people don't check that.
Okay, so for today's financial update, if you can believe it, it's been, how many months now? 5 months, 4 months since we last had an official update. So I'm sure you're all chomping at the bit to find out what's going on with the budget. So we'll just do a quick recap of the 23-24 fiscal year financials. The unaudited actuals reports are on the agenda for ratification later today. Those were submitted in September as usual. And so we'll just do kind of a final presentation on that. And then an update to this year's budget. We actually had not, we haven't met since the official state budget was adopted and all the trailer bills, kind of gone through all of those details. So we'll do a little bit of a recap on things that the state budget impacted in roads education budget. And just an update for this year in general with attendance and enrollment and things like that as well. So for the 23-24 fiscal year, which ended on June 30th, our final forecast, we did have some changes here that made the operating income increase a bit to the end of the year, including some revenues and things like that getting shifted around. As you know, we are navigating the tapering off of all of those one-time revenue sources that had multi-year spending timelines. So there were lots of conversations had with Jana and myself and EdTech and our auditors sometimes, just about making sure that we're using those revenues appropriately and wisely and planning that kind of, tapering off appropriately. So some of the changes in the UAR are related to those kind of tweaks with the spending plans for tapering off of those one-time multi-year fund sources. Overall, a healthy position. And as the unaudited actuals are on the agenda for ratification today, I wanted to make sure we showed each site's numbers. And I apologize, this is a little bit small, but each site, is these are the numbers that are in the reports for ratification later. We did have 2 sites with positive operating incomes and 2 sites with slightly negative operating incomes. And overall, it was a roughly break-even year at the home office with a little bit of, we try not to have an operating income at the home office, but sometimes we end up with it just due to especially ways that the Pivot Riverside year-end close works in Galaxy. And so we can't actually calculate the home office revenues and expenses until after the Galaxy books are closed. So sometimes it ends up being off by a little bit. But overall, the operating incomes are looking good when compared with the ending fund balances and things like that. All sites had are in a viable position.
So what's the total increase in the fund balance?
So these by site, the last
total for roads.
Total for roads was a positive 766K.
So
Hey, great time to buy an espresso machine for the staff.
Maybe one for every employee.
Yeah.
So the net, as I got it, was at North Bay and Riverside had a positive and the other 2 did not.
Correct. Yes. North Valley was slightly negative. San Diego was a little bit more negative. And again, some of those changes were resulting from adjustments to those multi-year spending plans for the one-time funding sources, because those revenues, the plans for which year certain amounts of revenues are allocated in, it's a bit of a moving target. So there were some adjustments at the end of the year that are partially contributing to those slightly negative operating incomes. However, the fund balances for all the sites are still positive and strong, especially North Bay, since they're our biggest site. And we've been, in a sense, kind of planning for a big change in facilities or upgrade to facilities. I know that was something we talked about in June, that, if we need to move or not, or spend some more time and investments upgrading the current facilities. That is a discussion that I know Jana is working, with our authorizer and everything regarding our renewal and where our facility is located. So I believe you all had, discussed a committee or, an ad hoc committee to work on facilities questions once we get to that point. But that is one of the reasons for the North Bay fund balance being what it is we know we need to do some facilities things, some capital projects soon. And just not 100% sure about what that's going to be. North Valley, San Diego, and Riverside all having, strong ending fund balances as well. So despite the slightly negative operating incomes for North Valley and San Diego, fund balances are still strong.
What's the percentage of the fund balance on the total?
These little orange kind of diamond things are at the percentages. So
for roads as a group, was it around 45?
Good question. I don't think I actually have that percentage in front of me. It's somewhere in the range of like 35, I think, but that's just by looking at kind of averaging these here. I would have to look that up, so I can get back to you on that.
I believe Dr. Halverson has done the calculation.
He'll now enlighten us now that he's appropriately set up the punchline.
No, I would not want to question Elizabeth. That would be inappropriate. But I will anyway. No. Anyway, it's up from what it was, and it's still relatively a high number. Put it that way.
Which is a wonderful thing to have to
Well, we
do.
discussed in January how to strategically use this, and it keeps going. So the board is saying we need to strategically use it. So if we need to have another January where we talk about it a year later. we'll do
Well,
that.
Yes. It's not cash, though.
It's just 4.5 million in cash.
Yes, but not the whole thing.
Yes, so I can provide an update on that as far as the investment options. So we have been waiting patiently for the local agency investment fund to approve us. However, they did not have a board meeting for many months. So their board meeting, the first one they've had since we discussed this actually, is in November. It's on November 13th. So it's coming up soon, and we are on the agenda for approval to join the local agency investment fund so that we can invest some of the cash in an account that will actually have some returns on it instead of sitting in a non-interest bearing account. And then I know there were also some questions about, using some of these using the fund balance to invest in capital projects at North Bay, but there were some balls in the air and questions as to what would be appropriate and when. And I know we're working on some things with our authorizer in Santa Rosa and Sonoma County that kind of we need to have some final answers there before we can
Of course.
make a decision.
Well, I think that's what we're queuing ourselves up for, especially in Riverside, where we're growing, we're strong. We have a solid relationship with the school board there. Should we buy something? Our school's getting too small again already. That landlord, on record in my back. So,
There
I think
and here, I mean, we
and here.
literally,
well, we have to,
Had to
we
go
gotta- when we sort out the charter question for good here,
yes. And that is.
we should look at investing in something and not paying rent. That's what I think we should start with. And we want either here or in Riverside, where we know we're gonna be.
I think by the time strategic planning comes around in January, we will have all the answers we
excellent.
need, and even we can bring to the table some real estate options.
Great.
And have a good discussion
It's on the
around that.
agenda, but I think you're all probably thinking similar.
Here he is. It's kind of
Steve, right? We should be kind of considering investing that money into something real.
Potentially.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem is the charters.
Well, once we,
That
so
should be
that,
resolved.
But they're all,
like in Riverside, we're good.
yeah. Are we good here, though? It's
So that's why we're gonna, we will know that, I think, by January.
Yeah.
But yes, if we, when we are,
Real estate's a long-term play. It seems like the authorizing bodies are not long-term oriented. So that, I don't know, I'm a little on the fence about purchasing real estate, but I get the need for it.
yeah.
I'm not gonna buy anything.
Well, you guys have been talking
Maybe.
about
I
that.
don't know, I'm kind of thinking about
Right, we will put it on the agenda for our strategic planning session. I will
it.
meet.
That is one vote, that is,
That's
you're
right.
very aggressive today, Mr.
No, I know.
I will be meeting with you all individually
That's
prior to the strategic planning board meeting to discuss what you would like to discuss at the strategic planning. So, it might be a hot one.
All right, we'll have that discussion at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe.
Wait a minute, I'm always right, though.
Moving on.
Next slide, Liz.
All right. One thing I do want to point out is that we are just barely coming to the end of depreciation for our most recent Riverside capital outlay project for the current facility. So, in general, ideally, since that was a really big one, we want to make sure that we finish that out before starting something new, but that the timing is potentially right for that. The depreciation is almost complete.
And just a little side note there, not to roil you up around this again, but one of the other issues is we are tending to find our very strong pivot-wide employees, Anna and Erica, who's in special ed, and a new potential, some other positions that we have that are being replaced, that people have left and we're replacing them. We've run out of space at Pivot Riverside. To house those. We are potentially considering making a speech and language pathologist offer rather than paying way too much money for the companies that are doing speech and language, and we finally found one, and she's out of Riverside. So it's not so much the kids space at Pivot Riverside, although that is also something to cap out. It's staffing space, and no staff wants to work for a school and be like alone in some random office space. So we're kind of trying to work on that. We as you know, we built, and maybe you don't actually, I did update you in my ED report. We built new offices at Pivot Riverside. Dr. Hallerson saw them. We took away Bill's space and cut it in half and built office space that Anna and Erica share right now. So, anyway, so we were running out of space like that.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so if we're ready to move on to the current year forecast,
Thank you.
we'll talk about some updates there. So I will kind of preface this slide with a caveat that at the time this was made, we only had 1 month of attendance data. So it's not a whole lot to go on. However, we did make some adjustments at North Bay and North Valley just because of the numbers that came in the first month of attendance data. So we did notice the last year, we had really high attendance rates at North Bay and North Valley, like abnormally high. I'm not sure what the secret sauce was there last year, but this year we are kind of back down to more traditionally, attendance rates that we have seen in the past. And then based on, staffing challenges and things like that, having some of our new hires subsequently not continue and things like that. So we've had a little bit of staffing challenges, and so we haven't had the enrollment quite as high as we had originally budgeted for. And again, as often happens, it's partially due to staffing, and then just making sure that we're not overwhelming our new teachers as they learn the job. So they start off with like a partial caseload, and then increase up to a full caseload over the first, few months of learning the job at Pivot. So we did make some small adjustments overall at North Bay and North Valley. It decreased our ADA forecast by 24.5. Again, however, this is only based on 1 month of attendance data, and we have 10 attendance months in the school year. 8 of them drive our primary funding numbers. So we'll have a much better idea of, what our ADA for the year will be, like in December, and present that to you at the January meeting. So this is, just based on 1 month of attendance data. So it's very likely to change in the coming months. So any questions about that? Overall, we dropped the attendance percentages a little bit at North Bay and North Valley, from 82 at North Bay down to 80, and from 88 at North Valley down to 80, which are historically numbers that we have seen. And then we did decrease the North Bay enrollment slightly, and that's largely based on staffing challenges there.
That's a low number. 80%, right? That's our historic.
It is not a number that we tend to want to shoot for. We're being a little bit conservative here with the 80%. The first month's attendance at these schools was more like 85, 86, 87. But the first month is generally kind of a honeymoon period where we see our highest attendance rates. So in general, those rates do go down. And so we're kind of as I said, just from 1 month of attendance data, it's hard to make changes. So we just kind of went with a conservative, drop down to 80, which was kind of a historic average, a little bit on the low side. So I'm hoping we'll be able to bump these up if we see attendance percentages, kind of rebound or maintain, kind of the month one numbers. Generally, we see attendance rates go down after month one. So we'll just kind of have to see how those pan out. And if they sustain the same percentages, we can definitely bump them back up a little bit.
Abigail ran LP2 already. Do you remember offhand? I could pull them up, but.
I did also, and it didn't change my forecast estimates. I'll just say that as kind of a summary.
Because it's good to be conservatively budgeting. It's not good to overly conservatively budget. So, in my opinion. And two, 80% should not be an attendance goal.
No,
I want to make that very clear. That was not my expectation. So if we're doing that, I don't think that's my colleague's expectation either. So if we're budgeting that because it's conservative, that's one thing. It's a lot of overly conservative, and I would hope we have a 90% goal or something, which
It is 90.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
The actual goal for students and staff is not the same as the budget. We go a little extra conservative on the budget, but the goal, and with the state of California as well, any student who is absent more than 10% of days, having an attendance rate of less than 90% is considered chronically absent.
Yeah.
So we always strive for 90% plus. However, the numbers that we actually see average, aggregate over all students is generally somewhere in the 80s, with the exception of Pivot San Diego, which has maintained a very strong, kind of 93-ish percent attendance rate for the past many years. So kudos to them for that.
Yeah.
So with the forecast, the decrease in the ADA, again, some of it is attendance rates, but some of it is also actual enrollment numbers based on some staffing challenges that we've had at the start of the year, which we could not let in as many students from the wait list at North Bay. So the decrease in revenue here is the primary driver of the change in operating income. However, we're still showing a positive operating income of $114,000. There were also some end of year things that were changed after the unaudited actuals were completed. We couldn't do these in advance because we kind of needed final numbers. The Prop 28 Arts and Music in Schools funds have a 3-year spending timeline. We do want to get to the point where we're spending every year's funds in that year. However, last year was the first year and the CDE didn't issue their kind of guidelines and frequently asked questions and all of the information until halfway through the year. So we didn't spend all of those funds. It was just a bit of too much of a scramble to get new arts programs in place in the middle of the year. So we do have about $100,000 worth of Prop 28 arts money from last year that has been carried over to this year because we were not able to spend it last year on that kind of short timeline. All right. So overall, the updated forecast, how it impacts the sites, as you would expect, North Bay and North Valley went down a little bit because of those enrollment and attendance forecast changes. San Diego and Riverside went up a little bit. A lot of these changes also are impacted by those things like the Prop 28 funds, where suddenly you have more revenue that was originally booked in the prior fiscal year, now being recognized in the current fiscal year. So certain things like that are what's driving this upward swing for San Diego and Riverside and kind of mitigating the effects of the decreased ADA forecast in the NorCal sites. So overall, still positive operating income, down slightly from, or down about more than half, but still healthy from the original budget. Okay, so cash balance, as you brought up a minute ago, we do have a very strong cash balance at the moment. A lot of that is due to timing of revenue receipts and things like that. And the fact that we had a lot of influx of money during COVID that we have been slowly spending, but some of it is still coming in. So we had kind of a big influx in the beginning, and then a lot of the things are kind of, the last payments are based on a reimbursement. We have to show what our expenses were, and then those monies come in. And a lot of these funds are in already interest-bearing accounts, such as our Pivot San Diego Treasury account, our Pivot Riverside Treasury account, and the rest of it that is currently in Bank of America is more than we would want it to be, which I am hopeful that the local agency investment funds board will approve Roads Education to participate, and then we can start transferring some of that cash that's currently sitting in the non-interest bearing Bank of America account into the local agency investment fund to get some kind of returns on that.
May I just comment? This is probably the most boring slide, but it's so exciting to see.
I know.
Yeah. I'm reflecting on a number of years ago where the wild fluctuations were many times dotted line was below the zero mark.
And take short-term loans.
And so I want to commend Liz on your boring slide. 'Cause it's fantastic.
No, you're right. I was thinking, we used to have those Bs, remember?
Yeah.
We had the loans and
It gave me anxiety. I can't imagine what Liz was thinking in the background.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with you. The boring slide that makes me feel so much better and sleep better at night is definitely, that is this slide.
On my notes on my page here, Liz, I wrote, no wild swings this year?
Yeah, it was great. 100%.
Yeah, I think we've kind of hit a really good stride as well with just kind of workflows and best practices for getting the revenues out of various other places that they start. So, when there's revenues in the San Diego Treasury account, in Riverside's Treasury account, and in North Bay's County Treasury account as well, there are different mechanisms for transferring cash out of there into our Bank of America account, which is our primary operating account where we, pay the majority of our, payroll expenses out of there and things like that. So just from an operational standpoint, things have gotten much smoother over the past few years as we've developed some really good workflows with our counties and authorizers, and kind of making sure those things are consistently managed well.
It's only taken 14 years. And that's not on Liz's part. That's just on the part of our county treasurers to getting used to charters.
Okay, so just on the summary slide here, covered the two first accomplishments bullet points, but I did just want to point out the last one is that the Pivot San Diego charter renewal was submitted. EdTech attended as well the public hearing in October, as I was out of the office and could not attend. So thank you to Eric for being there. He said he really enjoyed seeing the presentation, and it's great to be, to have EdTech be our kind of clutch supporter in that sense. And the vote for the Pivot San Diego charter renewal is coming up in December, and I will be there for that. And the petition budget, I think, looks, very, very good. And I'm hoping that, San Marcos Unified will see that our school is stable and going strong despite being small. Next steps.
Showed them a better picture, Liz. It was phenomenal. I mean, we've all talked about it, but we were so strong in our presentation. And it was nice to see Eric there. Tom and I both got to say hello to him. I did really notice that he was there and appreciated that. And he ended up having to do anything per se, but they are a partner. So it was really good to have him there, and we acknowledge that. So I'm glad you did too.
Thank you.
Liz, San Marcos Fiscal Department hasn't reached out to you with any questions yet, have they?
No.
Okay.
No questions yet. So next steps, obviously, there, we need to fine tune the ADA projections as more data comes in. As I said, only 1 month of attendance data is not a whole lot to go on for making updates to the forecast. But we do have the first interim coming up, and that is based on financials through October 31st, which just passed. And we will have at 2 and probably 3 months of attendance data by the time we finalize those numbers. So we should have a better, kind of update on the enrollment and ADA projections for the first interim. We also, one thing I want to point out with the forecast is we did make adjustments to enrollment in ADA based on the first month of attendance data, but we still have quite a few updates to make regarding compensation and benefits and staffing on the expense side. On the forecast update today, we updated largely the revenue side, but haven't had all of the expense updates incorporated yet. So in January, as I mentioned, we'll have a much better kind of picture and updated forecast that includes all of the changes with staffing and things like that are still currently happening. We're still, hiring for positions that opened up, that were vacated and things like that. So there's a lot of changes on the expense side that still need to be incorporated into the forecast for the January meeting. As I mentioned, the local agency investment fund has their board meeting on November 13th. So I plan to participate in that and make sure that if they have any questions, they are answered, and explain why we are eligible or should be eligible to participate. And we also have funding determinations coming up for North Valley and San Diego. They're due on February 1st, and they will the judgment or the sort of the verdict, the act of the State Board of Education on those funding determination requests will take effect for the next fiscal year starting July 1, 2025. And then on the horizon, obviously state budget, it's been a little bit of a question mark and some nervousness with, some forecasts and the economic outlook. So we'll obviously continue to monitor that. And also Prop 32, which we should hopefully have some news on that soon since Election Day is coming up. But that is the proposition to increase the minimum wage in California to $18 an hour. And that does have some implications for our expense forecast, not so much on the actual minimum wage side, but how it affects the exempt salary threshold for staffing.
Oh, I have a question.
Yes.
On the investment organization you want us to join, what is the basic return per year on an annual basis? I mean, it's a guess, but.
They have a chart. I don't recall. I'd have to look it up, but it's moderate. It's similar to like a treasury.
I think it's around 2.25.
Liz, do you agree with him?
That sounds reasonable. It
I
fluctuates.
don't have $30 million invested in it, Tom. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I asked Liz.
Yeah, they have a table that shows the return rates, kind of every year, in periodically, like every quarter. And I want to say the highest one I saw was maybe 6%, and the lowest was less than 1%, but it fluctuates, probably on average around 2 to 3%.
Thank you.
Okay, that is the last slide. Any questions?
What a happy report.
Yeah, a boring report. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Very good.
Thank you, Liz.
You're
We
welcome.
have, by the way, just as a dovetailing off of that, we have leadership team meetings every Monday. And we do have on the agenda attendance. As Liz said, last year, we had a big bump in the first learning period, so you call it attendance period. So we're just, we like to brainstorm. What do you think happened? Sometimes you don't know. It's a crapshoot, but it is on our agenda on Monday to talk about. And also LP2 or attendance period 2 went down a little bit as well, just overall. So.
And we did actually already discuss what happened in last Monday's agenda too, and there were some good points brought up. About why do we think it was so high last year and why is it a little lower this year? And we talked a little bit about the updates to independent study attendance claiming rules and things like that come out. They've come out in the budget trailer bills over the last 2 years. There have been some updates every year regarding kind of rules for claiming attendance in independent study programs. And so I think we have some good input on kind of why things are different and what we can do to ensure those numbers kind of make a rebound.
Yeah, I was not on that meeting last Monday, so Mama Bear wants to chime in a little bit, which is why it's on the agenda again on Monday. Just letting you all know. So it was a good conversation from what I've heard, but we need to take it a little further. So it's not being ignored, board members. All right, thank you, Liz. Could you just pull up the ED report?
Yeah, I wasn't sure which one you wanted first, just the regular ED report.
Yeah, I only put links to the others in case you didn't want to just look at it on the small screen. So it's just a repeat of what's already in my report if you want to link from the board docs to those other documents. Okay, go ahead. All right, a couple things we're going to talk about is enrollment, staffing, the renewal, and a discussion of organizational management. And that is our wonderful entire team, including Dr. Halverson and Mr. Lewis, heading out in our t-shirts prior to the Pivot Charter School San Marcos, San Diego public hearing. So we'll talk a little bit about that too. Enrollment is going strong. This was actually, these numbers are a week or so old. It continues to go up, as I mentioned. One of the things that Liz and the team started doing last year is setting 2 different targets for fall, because as you know, average daily attendance is an average of the entire year. And so our enrollment has to have some kind of strategic targets throughout the school year in order to get to the average daily attendance that we are looking for. So there's really nothing changing a whole lot here. I think the high school numbers are a little bit higher at North Bay than they were in the past, percentage-wise, just overall percentage split between elementary, middle, and high, but no big deal there, really, to be honest. So we need 13 more students. We have about, they changed the laws, governing board, about who we can put on our wait list. And we have to allow parents to just submit an interest form. And that just says, hey, I might be interested. And we have to put those people on our wait list, even if they have not filled out a complete enrollment form. So they could just be tire kicking. So when you hear numbers from me, when I give you updates on a bi-weekly basis and about our wait list numbers, and it might be 120 or whatever here at North Bay, it's because we are required by law to put those tire kickers onto the wait list. They may have just been like sitting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, just Googling stuff and fill out a form, right? So Abigail works very, very closely with Shannon and the enrollment teams on figuring out how many students we have to pull from the wait list in order to get X amount of numbers of the students to actually enroll and accept the wait list position. So it's kind of funky. That just changed last year, so we're just getting used to it, and we are just getting a year's worth of historical data to know what those numbers need to be, but it too is a crapshoot sometimes. So we might pull 60 students off the wait list and only get 4 students accepting positions. Or we can't risk pulling 60 off the wait list and maybe getting 50 of them because we might not have enough staff for that. So it's a game, it's a shell game. So anyway, so when you see my numbers about wait lists and everything, and you hear 100 or 200 on the enrollment wait list, that means nothing, to be honest, except that we have a lot of really good interest in the school. So it's a good thing. Okay.
Should we not be having the wait list and then having a subcategory?
We can't have subcategories.
You can't just track it?
Oh, that we do. No, we do. We track how many accepted. We track from what period of time they accepted, but we have to put them all on the same wait list.
Yeah, but that's in the education code or something like that?
Yes. Yes,
Bizarre.
it is. It is. It is. So it's just one of those fun games of things that change that we have to react to. So what we've done to mitigate it, we kind of got smarter. We're having multiple wait lists And so we open and close one for like 2 to 3 weeks. And that's one wait list. And we pull off of that. And then once we've pulled everybody and they haven't responded, we can go to wait list number 2. And as the school year goes on, those people on wait list number 2 and 3, based on the time that they are tire kicking, are becoming more seriously interested, as opposed to us having to go back to July 1 when people were just, Googling in the middle of the night, right? So we do have multiple sort of wait lists to allow for what Ralph was asking about. So it makes it very confusing and not so fun. So currently we have wait lists, and sometimes it's very temporary. So when we have new teachers, we don't just throw 28 kids at them. We need to strategically add students to their caseload. So sometimes a wait list is temporary while a new teacher, you don't want to give them 9 new students coming in. North Valley had this big spurt last week or 2 weeks ago. And so we went to a temporary wait list there as well, so that we could just temporarily allow people to catch their breath and catch up. So North Valley, Riverside, and North Bay technically right now have wait lists, but we will be pulling them off of the North Valley wait list. I think are we through the wait list at North Valley? No, not quite. Yeah, not quite. So it's a good problem to have. So North Valley, look.
I know. Wow. I know.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And typically North Valley's historical enrollment is they're a little slow to start, and then all of a sudden they get a ton in January. That's just been North Valley's trend. And we've been saying over and over year after year, we got to do something different because, the kids in January, it's hard. It's hard on them. It's hard on their academics. It's hard on our ADA. And so yay North Valley. Very, very excited. Yay, Joelle, thank you. So yeah, pretty cool. And it's continuing to happen. It's not like it's slowing down there either. So it's pretty exciting.
We don't have any space issues there yet.
No, not with the number of students that are actually attending the site-based program, but they are, and they are also, with a little from me, revamping how they're using the spaces a little bit better.
Okay.
So we have ample space there right now. They would love to have a staff bathroom, but that's on their big wish list, and we can't do it because of the code.
We walked out of the executive office.
Yeah, no, we can't do it because of the code. It's not because of money. So,
Block away or something?
yes, they have to walk around the
Walk to
corner.
headquarters?
Yeah, that would not be fun in the rain. Anyway, San Diego's enrollment, they are not too far from what the target was, and it's going up. It's up over last year. Not, excessively, but it is, and that's great. Love to see it. As Tom, you were there at the site. Jim, you were at the site. It's looking very good. They're doing some changes there also.
I think we sized correctly, which is good.
Yes. And as you remember, last year we gave up the extra elementary room that was around the corner, and we consolidated it. So we gave up a little expense there last year, but they've done a great job. And then Riverside. Wow.
I know.
And wow.
Exploding.
So,
We knew that this is nothing. We're going to be, we watched a couple more years, twice that. So much capacity there.
there is.
So much need.
There is. And we love our authorizer there. They work very, very closely with us. When Brandon can't be our rep at certain things, Craig is. If I can't be, we kind of share, working with our COE on different projects. So it's great.
So
All
I
right,
couldn't see
any
from
questions?
What is your
Sorry.
total number for Riverside population?
I'm sorry, what?
I couldn't read it.
Go back, Liz, to Riverside real quickly.
What was the total enrollment?
Total enrollment rate as of last week was 177.
So we're about half an EC higher than that now.
Yeah.
Which is convenient because
We have,
I didn't hear that, what
we
was
have
that?
a new EC committee.
yes. Oh, yes, we do have a half an EC.
Guy, try.
That's the next slide, though.
That's why you're running that deal down there.
Yeah, that's
why transition.
So staffing, we had a couple resignations since the start of the school year, one education specialist and special ed, one educational coordinator, and one counselor. Leaves and absences that are coming up. We have
Babies and divot.
three maternity
Wow.
leaves.
Right.
And she has said, I can publicly say this, Danica is the first. Hers starts on Tuesday. I have not gotten permission on the other two to share that publicly, but Danica was fine with it. So we, again, that's kind of a shell game, and Brittany works very, very closely with all of them on using their state, federal leaves, our leaves, how to combine them to maximize their baby care time. Brittany meets with them individually. I'm there as much as I can. We have certain little deals that we can make through the end of the school year to give them some more time with their babies and maximizing. But, we have to have coverage, and we have to plan ahead and know what the coverage is going to be when they're going to be out. So, it's fun.
That's great.
So we did actually replace the counselor. We have a brand new, two brand new counselors actually. As of when I wrote this, we didn't have the second one start. So we have 2 brand new counselors here at North Bay, full-time. One that we just needed from last year, one to replace the one that just left at the beginning of this school year. And we're very, very excited. Brianna just started 2 weeks ago? Yeah, 2 weeks ago. So 2 brand new counselors here. And it's great to have, Travis, I don't know if you want to speak to their involvement, the counselors' involvement here at North Bay when the kids are on site.
Yeah, so our new counselor, Brianna, has instituted a new item to our student check-in form. So when students come on site here, they're required to sign in through the computer, which essentially counts as like their attendance for being on site. And they've added a social emotional aspect to it. So the student has to designate how they're feeling when they enter campus on a specific day. And it's been instrumental. I mean, we're able to identify students who are maybe coming in with some of these negative feelings that we wouldn't have known prior, right? These kids are wearing a smile every day. We don't really know what's going on unless they reach out and let us know. And this is a very informal way for them to say, hey, I'm not really feeling 100% today. And it allows us an opportunity to go and check in with them. Very incognito. We're not causing attention to it, but we're letting them know, hey, we know where you're at right now. And is there anything that we can do to help out? And it's been great.
Yeah, I just learned about it yesterday. I think it's so cool.
That is very
So, and when kids are having little meltdowns, it's really nice. We did not have a counselor physically here for 2 years. 2 years, yeah, since Angelica left, right?
Yeah, we had part-time.
Part-time a little bit last year.
Yeah.
But so physically having a counselor here and having 2 of them, this is the first time in many years that's full-time. So we're very excited to have both of them here. So. We also I just sent the email this morning, made the offer yesterday. We did hire an aide, and she has accepted the position here at North Bay. So one of those 4 aide positions is hopefully filled. She hasn't gone through the process yet, but hopefully that will happen. So we still have 1 education specialist, special ed teacher that we are looking to hire because of the one who left at the beginning of the year, and at least 1 educational coordinator. Travis and Abigail and Craig and others have been conducting those interviews fast and furiously. So, and as I mentioned earlier, it's not up here because it's not a position that we have had in our budget because we've always hired out to a company for speech and language services, but we are still actively seeking a speech and language pathologist so that they can be our employee instead of us hiring out. So that's kind of where we are at with staffing. Any questions on that? Okay. There we are in the audience, our whole team wearing our bright blue t-shirts that I made sure we ordered. Every campus got them, but this is why you want to have a sea of color that the board members and staff at any of our school districts can see to measure the level of support for the charter, because that's literally what the education code says a public hearing is for a charter renewal. So we met at the site for pizza and to get Pivot t-shirts. We had about 20, 35 people there, 20, 30 people at the school site, and then a bunch of others met us over at the board meeting at the district office. Gail and I, and then by default, the educational coordinators and teachers were fast and furiously reaching out to families. Rachel was helping me send out reminder notices to the families every 2 or 3 days to show up, and so it was fun.
I want to point out though that it's in essence the audience at the board meeting. This isn't cutting off much of the rest of the group. This is it. Mm-hmm. So we dominated it by about almost 3/4 of people there had blue shirts on. But that, the front row is the front row right there.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, it just shows you how significant it was to be at that meeting. It was huge.
It was fun. It was very heartwarming. And as Dr. Halverson has been sharing in comments, and so has Mr. Lewis with others, you know, and we did put out emails saying, please speak. Ms. Gaskell will help you if you want help to know that some of the, you know, things that you should and maybe not say, because I say, please don't bash your former school. That's not fair. And they do. The parents want to get up there. Oh, and they suck. You know. So I, you know, I kind of just coach them. But other than that, like, you know, suggestions on what not to say and directions to go, we did not script this, and yet
Amazing.
it couldn't have been any better
Unbelievable.
scripted. It was amazing what it was.
They're asking people who do not speak in front of an audience to do so. And one lady, we mentioned the last lady was spoke only in Spanish, and there are 3 members of the board for San Marcos who do speak Spanish, so they didn't need a translation of any sort. To have her do that, and to stand there and make a presentation, to have to walk up there and then in front of a podium, that's a big deal. I don't care who the heck you are, even when I have to do it, I go, oh my God. So for them to do that, and then randomly they're picked to speak, I mean, it was an astounding thing to see, and it was very emotional.
Yeah,
The graduates that we've had, current teachers, parents, so forth, it was just amazing to watch.
Yeah, I sent out over 800 emails to prior students. We went back to the databases, to the Excel spreadsheet, and sent out emails to all of them. A lot of them were dead emails, but to the families and students from Pivot San Diego, and two alums showed up. So, I mean, Craig got up there, he talked about how his children graduated San Marcos Unified School District schools and how successful they are.
That was a great start.
Yeah,
It was a great
awesome.
tribute you gave to the school district. Yeah, it was tremendous.
It was a mic drop, and he actually signed up last, but they had him go up first. Like, again, we couldn't have scripted it any
He's
better.
completely complimented the school district, how good that was for his
Yeah.
kids. And left it at that.
But that Pivot serves a need that his kids didn't need, right? They didn't need to take advantage of because they had San Marcos Unified for them. So anyway, it was wonderful.
So will you let us know what the staff recommendation is as soon as you know it?
Yes.
Because how many of us do you want there on the 12th? If we have a staff
Depends on what
recommendation,
the staff recommendation is.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'll fly down if we have an adverse,
We
which
won't
I'd be
have a
shocked.
staff recommendation,
Probably the week before.
probably be the,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think if we have it, and based on what the board, I think we're looking really good.
Yeah.
If for some reason you have a funny, put an alert out to the board and I'll fly down and I'm sure.
Please pull it in my calendar for Thursday, November 14th. Or,
originally it was going to be.
okay,
Yes, they
So-
changed it. I sent out an email to you all, but yes,
Or the vote, they moved the vote back. That's right. That was the vote, Steve. You're right.
that was going to
They
be the
moved it
vote,
back.
but they moved it out. So, so yes, I will let you know. I will keep you posted. So, but we're gonna do the same all call. I mean, it would be wonderful to have the families there. So,
I just want to remember, everybody remind everybody how much work it took to get this to happen like this. It is, because I'm going, well, that was really great, they all show up. And then James Rutland explained to me how various people work to get calling and sending things and getting them, and I'm going, oh yeah, it's happening. Anything for even more than one person is a huge deal. The pulling this off to make it look like this, and having sincerity to the whole thing, this isn't astounding thing to see, but it was a lot of work behind the scenes that you and the staff did to pull it off. So that was impressive.
it is a lot of work, and Gail did a great job, and I keep reminding our other site administrators that theirs is just around the corner. So
Well, this was
it a
textbook,
good
so
trial run.
Gail needs to instruct the others on what she did and how, because it was excellent.
I have kind of a playbook that I.
Really, I didn't know that. No.
So Steve, there was a couple of alum that spoke, I mentioned this last night a little bit, but we should talk more. Incredible alumni, these two that spoke, and the one lady almost died. Now
Oh,
she's
yeah.
gonna be a doctor, and she's at UCSD.
Right.
She's phenomenal young woman.
Yeah, she's
You got
much
I have to call.
more articulate than anything I've ever done. I'll tell you, she was incredibly articulate. So, all right. So a little program overview here. I'm trying to give you the short version, and it's a very complicated sort of situation, but in special education, there historically was a placement called special day class. And in a traditional school district, that would mean that the student spends more of their time in a self-contained classroom because their needs are higher, because their academic ability is much lower per the psychoeducational evaluation that looks at IQ and broken down into many, many, many subcategories. Generally speaking, it runs in around the 70 percentile level that qualifies a student for special day classes. Our SELPA has recently said to us, oh, everybody's moving away from that terminology. I'm like, whatever, dude. I just know that I have these kids, right? A couple years ago, we looked at using a specific curriculum outside of our general ed curriculum because it's about access, right? If a student doesn't have the intellectual capacity to necessarily access our curriculum, our regular curriculum, because they can't understand it as easily, and this is not just because it's independent study, but independent study makes it even more difficult, then we felt several years ago that we should have an alternate curriculum. And that was when Tracy was director of special education. So what we did last year, and I did tell you guys this last year, but it's year two, God bless you. We hired another charter school that I've known for years. She's been around as long as I have, so we're kind of dinosaurs. And they have 40,000 students. It's unbelievable, some God, huge number. Anyway, they implemented a special day class program, and we've contracted with them to deliver it to our students. So we have many more this year than even last year, and last year was many, many more than the prior year. And so the partnership, so you can see the numbers, and these numbers are higher now. It's more than 13 at this point. So they qualify under special education as what they call moderate to severe. So we have a wonderful new education specialist, Kylie, who is dedicated her entire full-time equivalency at this point is working with our special day class students. And we're looking towards the future. I'm planting the seed on bringing it a little bit more in-house. And now that we have so many of these students, so and using the curriculum that we had intended to use several years ago, and so we are working on that for the future. So just letting you know, we've had some programmatic changes this year. And that's probably the most significant one that I can think of that has been a little time consuming.
Is there a different ADA rate?
No. Nope. Nope. And later on the agenda, you will see a request for you to consider what the state has implemented new as of last year, an alternate diploma requirements.
Isn't there some special ed money beyond the normal?
There is special ed money for just all special ed students.
Right.
It's
I know that.
that compared to the overall cost of special ed.
Right.
They used to call it
And it's federal-
encroachment.
Federal money as well.
Yes.
I
Really.
know they're all minor.
Yes, very tiny. We do get additional monies to serve special ed students, but it doesn't
Doesn't cover.
cover the cost of the
No, it
programs.
never has.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I was at the one in Riverside. Was it Kylie? What is it?
Kylie, yeah.
She's very good, and I talked to her later on about something else.
Yeah.
But she had a kid there, probably senior, but they're working, he could barely speak it. I mean, they're very odd. We all think people are all normal, and you don't see the unusual kids that are out there, or adults for that matter. And we don't always realize that, but she was working with this guy using like Lego type things to work with him to reinforce him. And it kind of reminded you of the spectrum of people that are out there that we would help, hopefully to make a difference in their lives and their parents' lives. And she's working with him and having the patience and the dedication to say, oh, look what he did, kind of a thing. I remember we had a presentation for her when I was working. It was an autistic teacher, and she came in with a video we had, and it showed me it was severe cases.
Yeah.
And we're looking at something, and a kid did something, I didn't even see him do it. And she said, look, he just turned it and did it. Oh, that was so cool. she was so dedicated to seeing the difference and being dedicated to making a difference in his life. It was really fun to watch and be appreciating of what they do and what parents also deal with. So these are, the goal is to make a difference in somebody's life, and these guys do that.
Yeah,
Amazing,
it is
amazing
pretty,
way.
it is amazing.
Yeah.
We have two students, Pivot-wide, that have Down syndrome and autism. And they too are nonverbal, for the most part, not completely, but, and just learning how to spell their name, even though they're 16, 17, 15 years old. And the cool thing, and you just said it, Dr. Halverson, but any progress for those students in their learning is just huge, compared to a student that goes from basic math to algebra, right? It's just huge. So it's pretty amazing. So we're excited about it. We're providing a program for them that they deserve now at that level. And we're excited about that, proud of that. Okay, organizational management. This is one of the attachments I also put in the board docs to be a larger version. You all had asked, this is the updated organizational chart with photos. Look at that. Thank you, Rachel. And then additionally, at the last board meeting in June, Dr. Halverson said, could you please give us a brief summary of each one of their job descriptions so that you all would have a better understanding as we grow with all these new positions, including Anna's and some of the others, as to what these different individuals do. And so there's a link on the next slide in case you wanted the link. But if you want to link there, otherwise I also added the document.
Thank you. That really appreciate it. You'll talk about somebody and I
Yes.
go, no, wait a minute now, where were they last year?
Yeah.
And then what it's like, very helpful. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. I forget, because I know everybody and I know what they do, and I forget that I'm not necessarily bringing
I
you
tell
all
you,
along.
assume I know
So-
nothing.
Yes.
Many here would agree with that. And
Yes.
just go with it.
So, curriculum coordinator, systems and technology. I mean, you knew the basics: Brittany, Liz, me, Corrine, Abigail, Craig. But yeah, our ELD teacher, Jasmine. So a lot of these were not brand new positions, but promotions last year when we did the revamp and the reorganizational chart. So anyway, so there you go. Any questions about the staffing?
Yeah. So,
Any questions?
no, but that, once again.
It was very helpful.
Yes, very.
Good. Good. Keep that in your back pocket
Mhm.
for when we.
Have to memorize it or?
No, I think I might add it every time, to be
Okay.
honest. It helped me
That's a good
too.
idea.
Thank you,
So,
Jana. Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, great news, great stuff. Okay, our next report is from our community liaison. Welcome. We're excited to hear from you and meet you and everything.
Oh, let's don't make a big deal out of it. We've had conversations. She wants me to buy her a.
No, you promised.
I-
You promised.
No, I'm not
Well, I
gonna
want
do
to start off by thanking you all for giving me the opportunity to be here, not just today, but in Pivot. So yes, I am the community liaison. And to provide a brief job description, my main responsibilities are to make sure that Pivot is a valuable asset in our community. We're partnering with colleges, getting internships, student outreach, and working with Trifecta Smith in our marketing department. I also provide outreach to our foster and homeless families and students. And I coordinate special events and activities that serve our Pivot staff, students, and families, and the community at large. This is a random little girl 29 years ago on Halloween. As you can see, I've always been very shy. I have a master's in educational counseling with my Pupil Personnel Services credential, and I worked as a counselor for 4 years before I came to Pivot, but I've been in education this is my 11th year now. So I worked as an administrative secretary for 7 years prior to that. My goal has always been to give back to communities who are underserved, and so throughout my time in education, I've learned that charter schools is where I need to be, because traditional schools, they get a lot of additional help. And I found that at my previous counseling positions, I really felt that the need was with foster, homeless, probationary and parenting youth. And so I wanted to make sure I gave back to, I'm very passionate about what I do, and I wanted to put that passion towards students that might not get that support. So I'll start off with North Bay. North Bay was my first event. We had a Chick-fil-A fundraiser here on August 29th. And then they had requested some support with the Santa Rosa violence prevention. So we set up a workshop on October 4th for the staff during a Friday that they all came in. North Valley, we had Mayor Andrew Coolidge and Senator Brian Dolly's representative visit, and it went really well. Jana did amazingly. And then we had our trunk or treat event on October 27th that Trent Pepe Smith found, and they worked directly with me. That I work with our staff to make sure that we have the staffing and the activities, or for that one specifically, candy for students to stop by at the event and pick that up. Riverside, right over here is Mayor Tom Richins with Brandon and Bill. And then we had Assembly Member Sabrina Cervantes' representative visit as well.
There is not a mayor at any of our jurisdictions that has not stepped foot onto Pivot's campus.
Now we're rolling.
Thanks
This
to
is
Mr.
now
Campbell.
we're rolling.
I'd like to add that the mayor from Santa Rosa, one of her kids actually attended Pivot North Bay.
I met with her yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I was gonna share that.
That's right. Now we're getting, way to go.
Also for Riverside, this is Mr. Gus Munoz, and he and his students, they knit beanies, and it's for premature babies. And they did it, that he had reached out to hospitals and wasn't having much luck, so I reached out to Kaiser in Riverside, and we were able to donate 100 beanies to the neonatal intensive care unit, where we found out, not to put a damper on it, but we found out that these beanies don't actually go to newborn babies. They go to babies that don't make it home, so that the families can take that with them as as something special.
And there's over 100 of them that we donate.
Yeah, and they'll need more next year.
So, in Gus's class, we were talking about the crocheting here, and this is a knitting class. I mean, you all know that he's been doing this for a couple of years, but he ran out of hospitals that were accepting them. And so that's how Anna found Kaiser and found this.
Is that Gus?
That's Gus, right? Yeah. That's him on the end of the pivot shirt.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, thank you for finding that. We ran out of places for them to go.
So in San Diego, we had Once Upon a Book Fair on October 12th, where it was about, I want to say 200 to 300 kids and adults all coming through and checking out all the different books. We had a booth set up, and they got to spin the wheel. We gave out a ton of information. Even people who were running tables came by and asked us for information and flyers. I was able to introduce the two guest speakers, and then afterwards, people who were sitting in the audience were interrupting the guest speakers. Can I have information about Pivot? So it was really great. And then we got to be in the San Diego Union Tribune. So, yeah.
So a lot of the time, it's about 50-50 at this point, but Pepe Smith finds these events. And in the past, I just didn't have time to scramble to pull them together to get staff to attend them. So Anna has been doing that. And then there's other times where Anna's finding the events because she's talking to staff and she's going, okay, for Pepe Smith, we need X, Y, Z, and I'm going to put it together. And so we did one here too. That was in the beginning of the school year. We did the films, the movie night here.
This one, actually, I found this one and then worked with the staff. And then the next day, October 13th, there was Harvest Fest with Trey Pepe Smith found. And then I worked with the staff to make sure we had staffing for that.
Yeah.
I zoomed in on the wheel, I see New Car and Weekend in Truckee on there. That's a big wheel.
Each one of our sites does have a wheel. It
That's
makes
cool.
noise, so it brings the kids over. And then we have prizes when they spin the wheel.
I love
So
the wheel.
it brings them to the
Great.
table.
We
So-
also had Deputy Mayor Sharon Jenkins visit right over there with Gail. And that same exact day, we had our wellness fair. So it was really great because Family Health Centers of San Diego was able to come out, 417 Recovery, which is, they work specifically with students who need help in mental health, who testing for special education, behavioral issues. So they came out as well, were able to give information. Love on the Leash, and we had yoga and sound baths that was actually provided by a parent from San Diego. Coming up for Pivot, North Bay just had Mayor Natalie Rogers visit, which, who had a student that came here. Thank you, Travis.
One of our, it was like year 2, 3, 4 that he was here, the mayor. So, yeah, it was cool.
We have our wellness fair here in North Bay coming up next week. So for that, I have Pauses Loving Support coming out, Positive Images, LGBTQ Community Center, Chops Teen Club, and a few others. And we also have a Bite of Reality in partnership with Redwood Credit Union. They're working with Travis. And in Riverside, we have a Bite of Reality in partnership with Schools First.
We explained that because it's kind of cool.
Yes, and San Diego also has a Bite of Reality in partnership with California Coast Credit Union. So what a Bite of Reality is, it's I like to call it Monopoly in real life. So the students will walk in, they'll be given a card, and it'll tell them you're married with 3 kids, or you're a single mom, and then they have to stop by every table, which will be run by staff, and the staff has to upsell them. So they stop by the first table and they want to buy a Ferrari, and the staff has to tell them, yes, get the Ferrari, and then the house, like, they can get a 2-bedroom house or they can get a mansion, and the staff has to try to sell them the mansion. So at the final stop, when they get to the credit union, the credit union tells them, no, now you are homeless and you have no money. So that's their job. And so each site is working directly with a credit union that I put them in touch with to partner for that event.
Said my daughter did that.
What is that? Schools First is a teacher, well, we're partly a teacher's credit union, Orange County Teachers Credit Union. It is an amazing organization if you ever somehow get hooked in with them. Even currently, the district I was at, they still pay for their retirement dinner that they hold for the district. They pay a substantial part of it.
Wow.
And I remember way back when their director would come to the local schools in Orange County and come and make a visit. They really are in the schools, I mean, big time. I mean, that's their thing, and they're one of the bigger ones in the state now. But if just knowing them, that's a big deal. And so I would think it was a good way to get at them and see what they could help with. They could do, especially for a small organization.
They really want to work with us.
They could do amazing things,
Yeah.
and they're willing to put up the resources to help it because they have that ability. And part of it, I've been with them for a long time on stuff, but what they did is many years ago, and the guy who started one of the original directors of the whole thing, they handled multi-millions of dollars, billions in some cases, but somehow a deposit wasn't made appropriately in some massive amount of money. And so some things didn't happen right away within it. It was a day off, something like that. And the director, the guy, executive director of this organization, sent a letter to everybody, no matter how much money you had in the place, $50, millions, everybody got a $50 credit. Because he said, we're apologizing, we messed up, and we're sorry. And we want you to know that our staff needs to realize that happens.
Yeah.
So we're going to tell you as our clients and so forth, that we're sorry for what we did. And I thought, talk about making a positive out of a negative.
Yeah.
And who would know if you got $100, you wouldn't know what the heck he's talking about. But that's the kind of place it is. It's very human in that way, but it wants to make a difference, even though it's massive in some cases. So I would hook up with them in some fashion. There's potential there, big time. And if you need anybody to come by, I could tell them I'm one of their oldest members. and I am. I bought my first car through them. So yes.
They just brought me cupcakes recently.
That's what I mean.
They brought me cupcakes.
That's what I'm saying. That's kind of who they are.
They want to.
And they want
our staff.
Yeah. So if you know, like, well, the cupcakes are really great, and you take it. I mean, that's an organization you can work off of quite
Are
easily.
they statewide or only down there?
They're statewide now, I think, but they used to be just Orange County, and they expanded out. I couldn't tell you beyond that. I don't know. They used to be Orange County Teachers Credit Union, then it became Orange County Federal Teachers Credit Union, then it became Schools First. I mean, I don't know, 10 years ago or something.
Well, the beauty of what you're seeing here and what I'm hearing from you is I never had time to follow up on this stuff in the past. There's just no way. I've got a job to do. And now we have this woman who is now in this position that is not only finding these things, but has the time to build those partnerships.
The other part about it, you talked about even that trip to New York, they might, as a kind of organization that would like make contributions to stuff financially, to things, you know, maybe just in the region you're talking about, like the Riverside or wherever they are. I don't know if they're statewide or not. I don't know that part.
Yeah.
But if they are, then they might be up here for all I know. is that, like I said, from what I know about them, I'm obviously, I'm selling stock here, and it's like,
Yeah.
they're quite the organization.
Oh.
So,
Well, thank you.
I took notes.
there's also the LA, California Credit Union. or
California Coast.
It's LA City Schools have a credit union, which actually a friend of mine is the chairman of it, actually. And they, maybe I'll find out their name and see, they're the same kind of organization. Coast part doesn't fit me right now, but maybe that's who they are. They changed from LA City School Credit Union to something else. But anyway, the one I know about, and the one I may know about, the other one.
Well, California Coast Credit Union only serves like San Diego County and Riverside County.
Okay, that's probably not them then.
Yeah.
They're in LA. Although they did buy the Navy Credit Union or something like that. In San Diego.
Great.
So I don't know. Anyway,
It's awesome. Thank you. I'm just
Okay.
looking it up.
So Pivot-wide now, In-N-Out has donated gift cards, which will be used according to the donation policy. I also have moved with translating all of our social media information to Spanish as well, which hadn't been done before. I've sent out foster homeless surveys for purchases for any additional resources or support that our foster homeless students may need. I am now reaching out for internships. We're working with my lovely executive director for authorizer relations, assisting with charter renewal, and working to get more partnerships within our communities. I also want to add, I usually have really huge ideas, and then I'll meet with some of the staff and be like, I need you to bring me back down. Can we make this happen? And it's usually a yes. Like yeah, of course we can make it happen. Let's just think of the logistical. So that's been great for me.
One of the things she proposed the other day that, again, it's just ideas, right, is to do the kind of fundraiser that some of our foundations do at other school sites with, donations from businesses, and people can make bids and they walk away with a gift at a very low cost, like a manicure, a pedicure, or whatever. So we're starting to, for the spring.
Yeah.
So, but the partnerships, she's working very, very closely with the counselors to build, they created this amazing resources manuals for each one of our sites and the families for when, our counselors only do academic counseling. They're not there to necessarily treat mental health issues. That's not their job, their role, or anything else. So, but many of our students need that, and the parents don't know where to go, and they don't know what the insurance covers. So anyway, they have a resource manual, but that's where their job stops. They can't but Anna's now starting to reach out to all of those resources and build those partnerships with 471 Recovery, and some of the others where they actually get to know us, and we're going to create MOUs to work more closely with them so the families have direct access, not just here's a link to this webpage. So, and in return, they know who we are, and round and round we go. So.
And it's been really great too, I think, coming from a counseling background, because the counselors will reach out to me and say, hey, I found this resource. And I'm like, hey, I'm already in contact with them. So that's been really good too.
She's finding things that we've never thought of.
Well, and I think you're exactly what we need, did
Mhm.
like 10
Yeah.
years ago, but we're glad you're here. I'm thrilled that you report to Jana, that you're close in with the administrative staff. We can fill you up with 80 or 90 hours of work. So we need to make sure we're prioritizing your efforts, because you're touching on all the things we need to do. I would suggest that you interview each of us,
Okay.
so you know what our resources are and our network to help support you. And I think that just on the whole, where you are, where you're doing great stuff, I think we've been kind of grappling with, can we get some foundation dollars? Can we have a foundation? We better tie into some of our alumni and use them to reach to our communities. Those are huge work efforts that we just haven't had staff to do. I don't know, that may not be your job. Jada tells you what your job is, but I'm still very interested in those areas. We have an item on our agenda about a foundation, perhaps, and a different checking account, so we can start raising money. You'll be the perfect person to help steer some of that and advise us on that. So where do you live in this area?
No, I live in Riverside County.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, that's great.
One of the
Tom,
offices
Betty.
we built,
Yeah.
she shares with.
Well, I think it's great. I think it's good having you at these meetings too. So it works out that you can come to these so we can see you and hear from you. You're in a great spot. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any board members?
you. I saw some of you last night, but I ran away because I was in PJs.
Any other comments from the board members? That's great.
I'm just to say that ideas that we've heard today are the types of ideas that are totally fundable. And it's just, it's harder to raise money for the amorphous, hey, give the pivot. It's wonderful. I mean, I hope people do, because unrestricted is better than restricted. But when you have ideas like we've heard today, it triggers in my mind, oh, maybe Jim will be good for this one, or I can ask Joan to help with that.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the New York trip, I don't know if they're still involved, but there's a family that I know well who were really high up in the New York Public Library, CFO. I think she was the CFO and he was doing something, I don't know what. But like, that's an amazing institution, and one that if the kids could go there while they're in New York,
We gotta stay.
I'll see if they're still involved, and I can see if they'll remember who I am. It's been a while.
That would be awesome. Reach out directly to Steve.
Yeah,
on that
but
intro.
then, as Jim said, please reach out to me. My Rolodex is getting a little stale, but, do we even know what a Rolodex is anymore? My LinkedIn is.
Your business card file.
It's getting a little stale,
Your contact list.
but I still have a pretty good network of folks from my old job, so
Thank you.
I'm really happy to help.
Thank you so much.
He does know, he hate to say it, he does know a lot of people and a lot of stuff. He's not real bright, but he knows a lot of people. Well, I gotta fly home.
Are you hangry or something?
We got food over here.
So
Yeah.
I want to just comment, this is outstanding, the work that you've been doing.
Thank you.
And I think it's really important because, it's one thing for us to show up at meetings with parents. That's really important. But having supporters beyond the school and the school family in terms of people within the community, organizations, other elected officials, it's those kinds of supporters are also really important.
Huge.
And when we are in need of really having more impact, calling them in because we have someone who's a direct connection to them, to come and support what we do, who are third parties, but yet recognize the value of what we're doing is incredibly important. And so all of these different connections that you've been cultivating are tremendous.
Thank you.
And, I myself, whatever I can do to help support, I'm really glad to do that because I think we all recognize the value of having that broader support community.
Thank you so much. It was, and I noticed that with Mayor Tom Richards, he mentioned when he came to visit Riverside that he eats breakfast right across, and he's like, and I always saw this building, and I saw it being built, but I just never stopped by. And then he walked through, and he was asking all the right questions, and we had all the right answers, and he was like, you guys are doing amazing. Amazing. He said, you guys are great. And I would love to, he said he would post us on his Facebook and to send him our pictures.
Yes, that's
and so it was great. Yeah.
We've done press releases, whether or not they're getting picked up, but we've done press releases on all their visits. We quote them, and then I forwarded you that Senator Dolly put it in his newsletter to his constituents that he was at Pivot. So
It's all what we have to be doing.
Yes.
Hopefully you're talking to your colleagues at other schools. We need to be getting to Democratic members. Dolly, you can show up or not show up. I'm glad you did that, but
Yeah.
He's
yeah,
a Republican. So because people need to understand a site-based independent study. They don't in the legislature. They keep poking at us, and they do not understand the kids we're serving. We're serving the kids they care about. I know. But so these kind of things, as we start getting elected officials through and seeing what we're doing, has huge ripples.
Yeah. And that's why the local electeds,
Yes.
the mayors and
Yes.
other council
Yes.
members, even the city managers.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's important that they are connected because
Yes.
they will be advocates at the legislature. So we don't have to rely on a single,
Yes.
senator or assembly
Right.
member, but they will be advocates for us. And when they have a better understanding of the program and what we're doing and the impact that it's making, they're going to be really important to us.
So keep your community relations up. That's super. I mean, get in the
Yeah,
Chamber of
sure.
Commerce. Every
Yes.
month you should be having the Chamber of Commerce CEO, through the city manager,
Yeah, I did
the
forget.
police
that.
chief.
She presented at the Chamber of Commerce.
Good. I mean, the public works director, because I guarantee they're trying to hire maintenance workers and wastewater workers, and those are our students.
Yeah.
They're great jobs. I mean, and so just keep that up. That's almost like a calendar every month. You have these people coming through a school.
Mhm.
Now that we have you to organize that.
Well, also provides opportunities that you may, like Public Works, that they may offer a job in service for kids who are high school students and say, oh, yeah, we would like that. And we have a thing where we help out in that area, and then it's like for here, they could say, okay, well, you can go over there and see how they do that. Oh, well, we can do a class, or we'll bring them in here and talk about it. And then, I mean, the opportunities will rise geometrically.
Oh, yeah, there's
Because
plenty of
it is-
opportunities.
yeah, so-
for
but they'll
the
wanna
city
do it to
For
some
summer
degree.
kinds of jobs,
Yeah.
for, park
Yeah.
and rec,
Right,
mean-
right.
as well as public works.
So I think it works a lot of ways for them too, to, what can they get out of it? And that's a bit, as your network gets bigger, as you know, and as long as you maintain contact with them as well.
Yes.
That's a huge, they'll say, I heard about something, but nothing to do with me, but I heard about something over there, you might wanna, let me call them for you. See, I always call it pardon the expression, but the SC family, Georgia family, if you want something, if they know somebody, they will call for you.
Mhm.
But it works. I've seen it work many times. You can create the same family environment in the city or the community you're in.
And that's
It's
what
kind
we're
of
starting
fun,
to
actually.
do.
It takes
Yeah.
some time.
Yeah.
But it's fun to see it once in a while.
Ralph's daughter, Alexis, works for Santa Rosa County Parks,
Oh.
or Sonoma County Parks, pardon me, and knows all kinds of people. She's wonderful. And so that's why I asked you to talk to each of the board members, because we will overwhelm you with work, but you seem like you're wanting to be overwhelmed with work, I can tell.
He's on drugs. So.
I may hire her away from you, so you better be careful.
No, we're not looking to a Tascadero. But I just have to share like this one story with the book fair in San Diego. It used to be in, I think, Escondido, and they moved it to San Marcos, and that was a big deal for them. And they have hundreds of people that show up, and they were hoping San Marcos was going to get the same traction. And we essentially paid to market, because that's part of our marketing budget, but we got on the bags, the tote bags, and because of the level that we came in at, we were invited to introduce their keynotes, and there were 2 keynotes. And you know me, I was getting all excited about that because I'm really shy about public speaking, right? And it turned out to be the day of my good friend's memorial, and so I couldn't go, and because I didn't need to choose that. It was a Saturday, and I had just started to get to know Anna, when this all kind of came up. And I said, are you comfortable doing that? And when I asked her, like right before it happened, I said, on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being you're terrified, how nervous are you to speak in front of hundreds of people and introduce these people you don't know? And she said
0.
She said negative.
He seemed shocked.
-1.
Outstanding.
And the fact that I
That's
could
weird.
trust, I knew she would do a good job. I was able to go to my friend's memorial, and I knew she was going to rock it.
Well,
To be
super.
fair, I was like, I don't know anyone, like, it's fine. So it's very different than presenting the people, or Dr. Halverson,
She's even explained it at our board meeting. Wow, you are super. We're glad you're on the team. And I already like you, now I revere you.
And take a seat.
Hey, that's
Now you gotta get your Harley Davidson. Okay, I was gonna buy it for you, but no.
Well, hey, thank you. That was a great round of staff reports. Congratulations to our staff. You guys are doing great. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Craig, everybody. Gosh, Abigail, Brittany, everything's great. That's so great. Janie, can take a couple months off? You probably could. You got a great team. Congratulations.
I feel very, very,
Super.
very fortunate. And when I had kind of hit a wall, a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I need to take a little break, but I need to keep working, I was able to get out of Dodge because it's just running so well. So, yes, I do appreciate that very
Super.
much. Very proud of everybody.
Okay, move on to action item 4.1. This is a nomination election of board members. Dr. Halverson and I were the nominating committee. We interviewed hundreds of people, far and wide. And at the end of the day, I think we
couldn't find anybody.
we offended them all, and so we are stuck with Ralph Holmes being. How's that for introductory?
Oh, yeah.
Can we extend the search?
Let's get Anna back out here. Because we can't have this jerk.
No, honestly,
I didn't say that, I just said. extend the search.
Now, we did discuss it, and we would be honored if Ralph would continue to serve. Your background in finance and your work on the budget committee and your connections to the communities we serve are really
And a
vital.
token Bruin.
That's it. And a UC alum. Yeah. So you serve well. Your attendance is great. You're involved, and so we would love to nominate you.
He's a
to
nice
continue
guy.
Service to the board.
All right.
So Ralph has accepted the nomination. So it is before the board to affirm Mr. Holmes for another 4-year term. And that's my report. Any questions?
No.
Any members of the public that would like to speak on item 4.1?
I think you have an add-on to this for the next.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, any members of the public wish to speak? The character of Ralph Jason Holmes? How's that? Well, you guys sweated me.
Character comment?
Oh my God.
You guys sweated me. I'm just getting you back for what you did to me at the last meeting. This is,
Oh, man.
okay, hearing no member of the public wishing to speak, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Hey, great, wait,
So
no, it's, committee will speak. It's a great pleasure for me to nominate
I thought the committee already spoke.
We did.
Pat.
This is something
It's a
else.
great pleasure that I nominate. Who are we doing? Ralph Holmes. He is a great guy, and it's a pleasure having him here.
Director Martell has the floor.
Yes, I would
I
like to move
nominate, wait a minute,
approval.
you gotta get a second.
Oh, she's moving approval.
No, I move
We're the
first.
committee.
I
We
said-
put them on the
No,
table.
but I nominate. Greg
No.
told me I could do this.
Chair recognizes Pat Martell.
I would like to move approval of the nomination of board member Holmes.
Okay.
Having worked with him closely on the budget committee, I can attest to his commitment, his insightful feedback to staff about all things financial related to Pivot. He has, in a few minor instances, also enlightened me on financial issues that I was not aware of. And so, based on that, and his very, very steadfast commitment to attending board meetings and supporting wherever he's needed, I would like to move approval of his nomination.
Thank you. Is there a second by OJ?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on the character of Ralph J. Holmes? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Now that you put it.
Last night, Mom was saying.
You were working hard to lose the nomination.
Were you there last night? I don't remember.
Last night, Mom was
Was
saying.
he there last night?
I vote aye. Martell, aye. Okay, any opposed? I heard 2 ayes, no opposed. We'll take it as a,
No, that was an aye for me, so
Okay.
you didn't hear me, but.
I think did you vote for yourself?
I do vote for myself.
Okay, that's always good to know. Okay, then, Mr. Holmes, you're reelected to the board. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I just want to say that really support what this organization does. I think, what Pivot does is very unusual and inspiring. And it's great to be part of it. I appreciate the opportunity to serve with these board members that sit beside me. They're all incredible people in their own ways.
Why don't you do
He voted for you. You can swipe at him now.
So it's an honor to serve.
Perfect. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I'm glad you continue to serve. You each give up your time. This is not, light work, so I appreciate it. I know you have a lot of people packing you to be on board, so I appreciate it. To that end, your service will continue because we next get to go through the grinder with board member Martell and Halverson. Their terms are up in January. And so, Mr. Holmes, you're going to join me on the nominating committee for that.
Is this like, as city manager, you can resign instead of being fired?
No, you can't resign.
Oh, I wasn't talking about myself. I was talking about Dr. Halverson.
Well, he's on the, we'll talk about that afterwards.
I didn't hear him.
So Mr. Holmes and I will be the nominating committee for nominations. We'll be just talking to both of you before the board meeting in January. So that process will continue.
Liz, we good on that?
Discussions.
Yep, all good on my side.
Okay.
Okay.
She's taking a nap. So.
No, she's taking notes. I want to make.
All right,
sure
well,
she
thank you. We'll move on to item 4.2, alternate diploma requirements. Ms. Gaskell.
Yes, so So as I mentioned earlier, the California Department of Education in this legislature has required local education agencies to create an alternate diploma. These are the general, I don't want to get too much into the weeds on it, but here are the general requirements. The student must be eligible to take the California alternate assessment, which is the alternate standardized tests. And they are required to complete standards aligned coursework to meet the state requirements, but the diploma requirements can look differently. So we have a rather general alternate diploma suggestions for you. Once we begin looking into alternate curriculum, we may revise this, but I wanted, it needs to be on the books that we do have the alternate diploma. We do have students already pursuing it. This is new this year. And once we start using an alternate curriculum, possibly, it may change what we call things, what we call the classes, what we call the courses. But we can generally fit everything into what we have right now, and the path that those students are pursuing fits into this alternate diploma. Any questions on that? So many of our not all students who qualify for special day class programs not all students have to pursue this diploma, but it is an option specifically to the majority of those students because they take the alternate assessments. But we do have some students who are in a special day class program that are pursuing a traditional diploma at Pivot as well. So it's not like an all or nothing thing. It's not, we're not pigeonholing kids into specific diplomas. Many times, if they're in the special day class curriculum, they probably, in most cases, they can't pursue going to a UC school or Cal State school because those organizations have very, very, very specific courses the student must take, but they can still get into a gazillion colleges. They don't have to go to CSU. They can certainly go to junior colleges. Some of our special day class students in the past have taken the concurrent, done concurrent enrollment. So we're not pigeonholing kids, but we do need an option for some students. Make sense?
Yep. Any board member discussion, questions? You're asking us to approve the alternate diploma requirements. Any members of the public wish to speak on item 4. I'm sorry, Ralph.
I do have a question.
Pardon me.
How many students do you think would fall into this category?
5 or 6.
So it's not one.
Might be a little more, but right now.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
No,
No, that's great.
It might be. Abigail, what is your number if I just asked you off the cuff that would be pursuing the alternate diploma? Not all the SDC kids, and that's the point I was making, but.
One potentially helpful number is that the state audits that students who qualify for the California Alternative Assessment is less than 1% of your student body.
Yeah.
So that's probably similar to this. So maybe 1 to 2 a year.
Yeah. Again, it's not all kids that take the alternate assessment, but they have to, in order to qualify for this, they have to qualify for the alternate assessment. So it's different subsets.
Is there a benefit to having both?
For having both diplomas?
Yeah.
Well, number one, it's required now, but yes, it is, because it's not always, we're setting the kids up for failure by having certain expectations for diploma requirements. If they have disabilities such that they cannot meet those, I want them all to have a California high school diploma, as do the legislators in the California Department of Education. So this gives them an alternate option that makes it doable for them. Yeah, absolutely. So they can be successful and feel successful and have a goal that's realistic for them. Yes.
Great. Okay, are there any members of the public who wish to speak on item 4.2? Okay, and Liz, I'll trust that you'll speak up if somebody's online. If I don't hear from you, I'll just assume nobody is. Okay, then I'll ask for a motion to approve the alternate diploma requirements.
Move.
OJ, thank you. Second by Mr. Halverson, Dr. Halverson, pardon me. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, approved. Thank you, Ms. Gaskell. All right, the next item was spurred on by Director Holmes and I, and this is a authorization to open a new checking account for student donations. Board Member Holmes was very generous, had an opportunity through work to donate to the school with a matching gift, and he did, so thank you for that. And I also wanted to contribute, but it caused a conversation of making sure that if we're raising funds as board members through our contacts and from our own resources, that there be a pot, I mean, Steve, as you said, unrestricted, right? That it's not mingled with the government money or the ADA money or things, so we have this strategic pot to do things with. And those may be activities that state monies can't necessarily used for. So we talked about it, and there wasn't a opportunity to do that. So I did ask Ms. Gaskell to work with Ms. Jones to see about opportunities or options for setting up a different account under Rhodes Education Organization that would not be mingled with the public monies we receive. So Ms. Jones, I'll turn this over to you. I appreciate you looking into this. You want to share what your thoughts were?
Absolutely. I know previously there had been some discussion about establishing a foundation for fundraising and certain activities. And it was discovered after conversations with our attorneys and auditors that the costs of that are quite high at this point, so that it might be something we can obviously do at some point, but it is time consuming and potentially costly. So their recommendation, especially from our auditors at this time, was to at least create a separate bank account within Rhodes Education that would be very clearly, as you mentioned, separate from public funds. And we will also establish with EdTech a separate resource code to use for donations that come in here, to mark them specifically as these sort of, it's in the separate account. It is unrestricted. It is, through Rhodes Education, donations and fundraising bank account is where the monies will go in and then subsequently come out of, as there are expense needs that are identified. But at this point, establishing a second bank account that is separate seems to be the most kind of cost-effective first step at being able to do these things while we're still investigating and discussing the possibility of a foundation, if that's something we wanted to do in the future.
I anticipate this would have minimal transactions. I know there's a lot of detail here, so the initial gift, I think, will be deposited in this. Board Member Holmes, I'll probably put in it too. Now, I think this is something in January we can discuss as board members, what this is used for, who approves expenses from it, what types of things are we looking to support. So there's a lot of questions. It's a little bit of leap of faith, but I'd appreciate if the board authorize an account for this. And then maybe Steve, you and I, or whoever wants to participate, can start talking about this. Maybe I could appoint like an ad hoc committee or something to start working on this. And whoever's interested to work on it is great. And maybe have some thoughts for January, so the staff doesn't, I don't want staff to put a lot of time into this. This is more something I think that we should spend time on. So that was it.
The only question I've got is, when you get into these alternative bank account type things, you're opening doors. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, but it opens up doors that could become a problem in the future about how money is spent and who's doing it. And I'm not saying anything would happen, but it does make it more precarious. So my question would be is, how is it audited? Who's signed for what? I can see some, we do it here, but somebody said, well, I need to buy a new, and so forth, and it's not really accounted for by anybody. And that's my only, the vagueness of it, when you get into these areas, gets really, potentially, you're opening up an area that could go wrong at some time in the future. So that's the only area I have real concerns about in that area. I don't want to get too vague about the whole thing, and then agree. Somebody can decide, they're gonna say, I spent money for that.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have policies as to, who gets to decide and how it's decided, and who withdraws it, who writes
and
the.
it's somehow part of the audit, I guess, or we
Yes,
contract with the auditors to do the same thing, and we just have to pay them separately, or I don't know. But
Well, I think this
about
thing
that.
starting out is gonna have 3 transactions a year, so I don't wanna spend 20 grand on an audit account,
With
$3,000.
some of the things we
Well,
do-
I can speak to the audit a bit here. Since this is just another bank account under Rhodes Education Organization, there are no increased audit costs for it. It is just audited as part of Rhodes Education's financials. It just adds one extra account that they have to look at, but it doesn't increase our overall costs.
Okay, but they would look at it like any other account.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Well, Tom, I'm just wondering I think your point is interesting, but even if we open up a foundation, it's still gonna incur those questions.
Right.
So administratively, we have to have all the little policies and laws in place so that we can answer all the questions
Right.
that anybody has.
I just don't wanna overcomplicate this. We'll do the board of
Okay,
it, we'll do this as a, you know.
Here's my other point that I just wanted to make is that already we have fund accounting. Various governmental agencies say you must buy air conditioning equipment with this, and we abide by that. But when you get into philanthropic support, you might be getting some micro gifts to, I want to support student meals, for instance. And you sort of have to have you must have a fund
the resource.
that is,
Yeah.
this is the student meal fund, and if a student needs it, so-and-so is able to distribute $20 to that student, or whatever. Maybe that's just something we want to do. Maybe it's something bigger, like the New York Travel Fund, that has to have its own fund. So the chart of accounts is going to explode, and just so Liz knows, because all these great ideas that we just heard,
Yeah.
in my mind, was, there's a fund, there's 30 funds that
It
were
gets really.
potential for today.
At university, which I've dealt with some of this, somebody will contribute a large amount of money for a certain kind of program. And then their program later on goes away, they don't need it anymore, but that money can only be used for that program which doesn't exist. And now what are they gonna do? And they learn later on to try and get it, so this program doesn't exist anymore, can we still use it? But the university has been stuck with some of those areas, because it was said it's targeted for, meals at a certain place in that restaurant or whatever, it doesn't exist anymore.
Those
So
are
now what do we do with the money? So you get into these complicated areas,
Well,
so forth, and you've dealt
I
with this.
should say that those are old gift agreements with
Yes,
donors.
yeah.
We've learned a lot in our industry in the last
Right.
50 years, and nobody writes those gift agreements.
Right,
anymore.
but I'm just saying that you get into that very messy area sometimes.
Well, I'd be delighted if we got that. We're getting way out beyond what I was thinking, like having a pot of a couple $1,000s that if Miss Gaskell wanted to go to some.
No,
political
Ralph said he
conference or
would give a
something,
lot more.
we could send her with these dollars, or if we
Yes.
wanted to do something special for our teachers from
Mm-hmm.
our foundation, we could do something that we couldn't have done for public. That's just things like that to start out.
Truly unrestricted funds should be the executive director's
Yes.
ability to say, okay, I want to help this program, or I want to go to a conference that I couldn't go to before.
And with the outreach that we have through Anna's position, there will be more than just 3 or 4 little entries based on how quickly this one's going.
Yes.
So.
I don't expect that we're gonna be taking, 20 different
talking
restricted
$100,000.
funds or 20 different funds. I mean, we're gonna
Well,
start this, we may one day,
Yeah.
you're right, down the line.
we made this
And
year.
for that, I don't know. Okay, so,
Could I chime in a little bit here with just the plan? So we already have things in place for restricted donations. If we do have a donation that says it must be used for this purpose, that goes through our regular pre-existing, we already have things in place for that. This new bank account is only supposed to be for the unrestricted donations.
okay, got it. So that's the item, and then I will appoint a committee.
Can I just ask a follow-up to Liz? Does that include, would this bank account be used for restricted philanthropic as opposed to
We already
government?
have it set up for that. Restricted.
Restricted philanthropic gifts will go into this bank account too? Or purely unrestricted?
I don't know, that's why I need a subcommittee to talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Purely unrestricted is the proposed plan that Jana and I had discussed for this new bank account, and that we're proposing to you at this time. This bank account would be purely for unrestricted donations.
Because we already have a mechanism to track and utilize restricted
Yes.
philanthropic donations. That
Yes.
already exists in our account code structure.
So if I donate money to go to the New York thing, does that go in the restricted one?
Yeah, that we can
That is
take
restricted.
that.
Let's just ask
And we have a mechanism to take your money.
So if
to
it just
put
say I'm just giving you money,
already, so it's not gonna have to land.
so I
in
can't,
this-
if I don't target the money,
Correct.
although that'll be
Then
more
go
hard,
in
that'll be a
this.
harder thing to sell.
I know.
Usually it's for something I want to give, which is messy. Okay,
But for
whatever.
example, what Ralph's matching with his company, that was unrestricted, and we
Right.
need a place to put it.
And I think if you want to give money to feed students, or you want to give money to have a scholarship for a teacher to get, that's gonna go to our normal, that's all
Correct.
like
Because
legit
we-
educational stuff.
Mhm.
I'm thinking more, gifts for teachers, or that we can't use taxpayer money. We want to send Janet to some political conference that needs to influence, we can't use our dollars for that. Those are the kind of things I was thinking about using this pot for, a strategic, as opposed to the true philanthropic and grant organizations that might give to our kids to go to New York, can run through the pivot accounts. You know,
Correct.
those are all,
It's already set up,
Mhm.
we can already do all that. It's the things that fall into the category of potentially, like Mr. Lewis just said, a gift of public funds, right?
Exactly.
You know, nothing pivot money can go towards me doing some kind of political support of somebody. That has to be, I can't even use my email for that, my pivot email for that. But there might be an interest for the non-for-profit of Rhodes Education Organization for me to go do that, but you can't pay for it out of public dollars. So that's just one extreme example, right?
But is there a reason that there needs to be a separate bank account?
Yes.
yes.
And the attorneys did
You
share.
cannot
that.
mix up these dollars with public dollars,
Yeah.
because we're
You
public.
cannot
Because everything else is
Yeah.
public, unless it's a donation that's restricted.
Once it's in Pivot's coffers, as opposed to this new account that's just Rhodes Education Organization, the non-for-profit, once it's in Pivot, it's restricted to many things that you can't, you know, no misuse of public funds. It becomes a public fund, basically.
So we keep it very clean. So these are all the policies we need to work out. I appreciate us wanting to have a committee meeting during the board meeting.
Question, how does that fit within the framework of roads?
So the idea being Rhodes Education Organization is a kind of a holding nonprofit that owns Pivot Charter School, right? So many of the, we sit as that, both kind of school board and the board of Rhodes Education Organization. So I thought this being is an account off of Rhodes Education Organization, aside from Pivot Charter School. So the thought being, Rhodes Education Organization could do lots of things. We could do childcare, we could do ride sharing, you know, we could do all kinds of things. We've never ventured. Our primary focus is Pivot Charter School. So this is starting an account that could do many things. So that's how I see it occurring. And I can even see at our board meetings, we'd have the Pivot agenda, and then we'd
Possibly.
recess to this thing. That's the one I'm thinking. That makes sense?
Yeah, it does. I was thinking roads and kids. Roads and business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right,
Who knows about business?
right.
I mean, the kids don't know. And kids are the benefactor of roads.
Yes.
Actually, they're benefactors of Pivot. That makes it a little bit clearer. Like you got Rhodes and you have Pivot schools, right? Kids benefit from the Pivot schools. Rhodes oversees the Pivot schools. Now, Rhodes can also oversee other things
For
and
kids.
spend money on other things for kids or otherwise. Yeah,
But not necessarily.
Right,
correct.
that's right. That's right. Okay, so I would like, are there volunteers of board members, we have two, that would like to think this through a little more and have a report for us in January?
I'd like,
Okay, would you and OJ do that? Okay, and then that'd be great, and maybe,
Liz and me.
and you, okay,
okay.
well, I can't have 5 board members, so. Oh, okay, so OJ and Steve would be great if you could do that, and that's our facilities committee that hasn't had to meet for a while, so you can also be our, what are we gonna call it?
Financial facility.
Perfect. Referred to the facilities and foundation committee. Okay, perfect, that's great.
Well, in a different way, just retired from doing 35 years of fundraising.
That's right.
Yeah. So perfect.
You did, no, you're perfect, that's super. Okay, thank you both, that's terrific. Then the action would be to open a new checking account for donations. We'll leave it at that, because the committee will hammer it out more from there. So I'll move that. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mrs. Martell, thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Next, Liz, Riverside County certification signatures.
Every year.
Every.
Yes, this is our annual reauthorization of the individuals who can sign for things in our Galaxy financial system, such as accounts payable, checks, and payroll. So this form you are likely quite familiar with, and it's just updated with today's date. They do require this every year, and the signers are not proposed to change at this time. So myself and Executive Director Jana Gaskell, both for accounts payable, as well as payroll-related authorization of payments that need to be done through the Galaxy financial system.
Yep, we see it every year. Okay, any questions? Okay, any member of the public wish to speak on our certification of signatures? Hearing none, then I'll ask for a motion to approve this. We just sign it, right? This is not a.
There does need to be a motion to approve the two signers as listed on.
Okay, got it.
I have a question. Is this just for Riverside?
Yes.
You see something different?
No, I just wonder why it's just,
This is for the Galaxy thing. We say a different.
oh, that's right. Okay, got it.
Okay, then can I have a motion to approve the signatures of staff?
So moved.
Thank you.
Okay.
Second, Mr. Siegel, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Next, we have the unaudited actuals for each of our sites. So I'll turn this over to Liz. I would say one of the things I do every year as board chair is I get to have a conversation with our auditor. Lily Huang is our auditor. And we had a great conversation this year for about a half hour. And she was very complimentary to Liz and our team about their transparency and the record keeping and how the financials were in order. So I want to compliment you, Liz and Jana and Brittany and the team who is involved in this. Very clean audit, transparent audit. You were all forthright. I expressed to the board as absolute confidence in the staff. And we just had a really good discussion. I mean, even she noted our financial position, how strong it was. And we talked about that and relative to other schools that she works with. So all around a very positive conversation. And our auditor was very impressed by our operation. And so congratulations, Liz. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. So in the financial update, we looked at, sort of the overview and summary. So combined two words together there.
What did you say?
The overview and summary.
We're laughing on the reacted. All right, back to you.
Goodness. Yeah, sorry about that. So the overview and summary of each school's financials for the fiscal year that ended June 30th. And so here we have the official documents that were submitted in September. They are quite detailed. And as you can see, as we go through here, just kind of, there is the summary at the beginning, and then it breaks it down into individual categories and everything like that. So these are the official reports that were submitted, and they get submitted on by September 15th every year. And then these are the financials that our auditors are then reviewing and that go into the final audit report. There may be some small adjustments, especially related to things that the Galaxy financial system cannot do. So we always do have some small audit adjustments, but these are sort of the documents that are submitted that the auditors then kind of go off of when determining if there are adjustments that need to be made. All of these were submitted in the SACS program, the school account code system. They've transitioned now to, you may notice these look slightly different. Even though the North Bay, North Valley, and San Diego schools all utilize the charter school alternative form for the unaudited actuals and budgeting, they now require us to submit that alternative form report in the SACS system, which is the same system where we have to report Riverside's financials from Galaxy. The Riverside report still does look quite different because it's a different type of submission in the same system. But I just wanted to point out, in case anyone had noticed, that the the reports for North Bay, North Valley, and San Diego look a little bit different. That's why the state changed the method of actually submitting the reports for the unaudited actuals. So they look more similar to the ones for Riverside than they had in the past.
What is the negative source of funds? What is that?
In which report?
I was looking at North Bay, but I think it goes through all of the three that are similar.
Is there a certain line item?
So it's state aid prior years, the negative.
Yes. Okay. Right. Yes. So sometimes with prior years, the adjustments are based, usually when this happens is based on ADA. So we report our average daily attendance in April, and then the state certifies the amount that we should receive in LCFF funds, such as state aid, in June. However, we also then have an update to that report in June after the school year is ended and any final adjustments to attendance have been made. So sometimes that final ADA after we've had the whole school year completed is slightly higher or slightly lower. So this state aid being negative generally would mean that we had a downward adjustment of ADA. So the amount that they had apportioned and that we thought we were due in June is downgraded slightly because our attendance or ADA was slightly lower in the end after we had all of the data in.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions?
I just want to appreciate it. I was looking at the various forms and I saw the Riverside one looked weird. And then you had another reference under the other item, putting it back in the regular, I'll call it regular form. So I was able to figure it out. So thank you for that.
Okay, great. Are there members of the public that would like to speak on items 4.4, 5, 6, 7, or 8? Okay, hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to ratify the unaudited actuals for each school site. We'll take this as one action, but the minutes will reflect individual votes.
Second.
Ms. Martell, thank you, Mr. Holmes. Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
I
thank
just
you.
want to add, when you get a clean audit, I don't care who the heck you are, it's an amazing feat. So congratulations.
Yeah, great work, Liz and Jen. I mean, really, Lily had great things to say about our organization and the staff.
It's
and
no easy trick,
No.
I'll pull it off.
So thank you. Okay, moving on to our consent agenda. Item 5.1, we have the consent agenda minutes, check registers, and board policies. Anybody wish to pull anything off the consent agenda? None? Okay, I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Martell. Second, Sutherland. Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great. So we'll move into closed session. We have several items under closed session. We have a discipline matter. We have labor negotiations with unrepresented employees and discussion on evaluation of the executive director. Are there members of the public that wish to speak on any item in closed session? The board will be here. Okay, hearing none, then I'll recess the meeting and we'll go to closed session. Thank you. Okay, we're back in session, and the board did meet in closed session on 3 items. There is a reportable action. The board voted unanimously to approve the settlement agreement regarding confidential student matter, case number 2024-002. And so that is my report. And our next meeting is in Santa Rosa on January 31st, and we'll also be meeting on February 1st in 2025. There being no other business, our meeting's adjourned.